Hello, I'm Martin Mercer.
And I'm James Mastriani.
You've never heard of us.
We're two Brits who grew up in North London and have had varying success in the film and television industry.
In our ever-advancing age, we find ourselves on
the wrong side of Hollywood.
In our series of podcasts, we'll share our experiences of what it's like being a British bloke living and working,
Or not.
in the biz.
We'll discuss everything from fish and chips to things that wind us up.
So stay with us, it's all uphill from here.
This podcast may contain strong language. If you're of a sensitive nature or easily offended, we invite you to, as they say in Blighty, jog on.
Good morning!
Good morning.
How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Feeling the swirling excitement of the Oscars forthcoming, drifting down into the trenches where we reside.
Yes. We were just having a preamble before we started recording. You said that you've seen all the films?
Well, no, I've seen a large amount of them. And to be fair, some of them, not to slag them off, but films like Napoleon, I started and I couldn't finish, quite frankly.
Now, funnily enough, it's not nominated for
It's
Best
visual
Picture.
effects. Visual effects.
Of all the Best Picture movies, I've seen 6 out of the 10.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so the ones I haven't seen, referring to my notes here, Poor Things, Past Lives, American Fiction, and Anatomy of a Fall.
Funny enough, I haven't seen those either. I do have them. We can see them, but of course, our
It's going to be
preparations are
too late for
a
this.
bit late, but oh well.
So, what food thing did you bring with you today, Cletus?
Dunk love, dunk love, dunk love. Yes, well, Your Majesty, a small object known to its inhabitants as cinnamon cookies, which I purchased from the Monarca bakery, which is the butterfly in a Monarch bakery, and it's a Mexican bakery.
Okay.
And they do all these really cool foods and drinks from Mexico. I don't know if you've ever had Mexican chocolate, which is quite different from...
Yeah, it's a bit rich for my taste.
It is, and it's more cinnamony, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is from the Monarca bakery, and this was Pasadena. And these are cinnamon cookies. Now, what I find fascinating when I look at baked goods and foods from all over the world is the similarity between other cultures. These are very simple. They're like a crunchy biscuit that's covered in icing sugar.
Right.
And these ones are covered in cinnamon.
Okay.
But when my mum was cooking, when we were younger, she would make these cookies that are very similar to this. They were crunchy. They had almonds in.
Right.
And they were dusted in powdered sugar. And because her family comes from Russia in the past, they were Russian cookies. And yet here we got Mexico there, Russia over there. And if you were to put the two biscuits side by side, they're very similar. It's a bit like the Cornish pasty and the empanada.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're like miniature pasties.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Not the things you stick on your nipples.
No, those would be pasties. Not that I know about these things.
No, indeed, sir. So would you like one?
Yeah, I would. I noticed you took both plates.
Yeah, you're on a diet, aren't you?
I'll grab one of each.
Yeah.
There you go, thank you.
And don't forget to dunk.
Yes.
Dunking is important.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a great bakery. And when you think of Mexican stuff, I used to anyway, in my ignorance, I didn't think of sweet things and pastries and stuff, but lovely.
Oh, they are rather nice, aren't they?
Right?
This one's a cinnamony one.
Yeah. I've got the powdered sugar one. And you've got that nice almond crunch.
Don't inhale because it will make you...
Yeah. Oh, don't talk to me about inhaling. I've had this cough.
Oh?
A cough. It's a posh way of saying cough. And I've had this bloody cough for weeks and weeks, and apparently it's going round, and I don't know if it's COVID related, but...
Oh, great. Thanks for coming to my house.
Oh, yeah, boy. Well, you're fine.
Yeah, we say that now.
But no, I wouldn't come here if I had no gut. But I've had it for weeks, so yeah, this could set it off.
Oh, this is very nice.
Let me try a cinnamon one. Oh.
See what I mean?
Yeah, slightly firmer. And you've got to, yeah. I like the powdered sugar one myself.
I like the cinnamon one better myself.
Yeah. Sorry about the slurp. So anyways, here we are. It's rainy, damp LA. The roads are falling apart.
That's true.
Not to get political, we did pay all that extra money that they're going to fix the roads.
Right.
And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Bollocks, they haven't. And now, in the elections, they're trying to pass another, whatever they call it, because they go, oh, we want to fix the roads.
Yeah.
It's just such a load of bollocks.
I know.
So anyway, so we come from that, a rainy, damp, crappy road-ridden Los Angeles.
I think our particular area and Los Angeles in general, I mean, you go over to Burbank or Sherman Oaks and it's a bit nicer.
A bit better. And of course, the Oscars, no doubt what they're going to do. They're going to shove the homeless out the way and clear the paths to create the gleaming Tinseltown illusion that one expects. Now, a fascinating thing about this year's Oscars is, of course, you and I, James, are very far from it. It's over the hill. It's like we might as well be in fucking Siberia, quite frankly. But the thing is, we are that 1 degree, that one thin membrane of underpants of success away from the Oscars because both of us know some people. You know...
Jonathan Glazer.
Jonathan whom?
Jonathan Glazer, a filmmaker from Great Britain. We went to Hadley Wood Primary School with him. Didn't something happen between you and Jonathan?
Mr. Glazer, fantastic filmmaker. I have to say, I do love Sexy Beast.
Oh, it's fantastic.
The opening shot with the rolling rock, the idea to do the rocks POV, really clever guy. So I totally admire him there. But when we were at school, he was 2 years older than me. And I got bullied by you, Jonathan. Oh, yes. And you know what, mate? It hurts.
You probably deserved it.
No, I did not.
Yes, you
I was
did.
small and weak. I was Oliver Twist. And he came along, him and his mate, I think it was Mark or somebody, they gave me a Melvin. A
Ooh.
Melvin, James.
Was it even called a Melvin back then?
I don't know. I always thought it was called a Melvin, but it's where you grab somebody's underpants.
A wedgie.
That's an American term.
Yes.
And you pull them up.
Yeah.
Thus separating one's balls on either side of the pant and pushing it up into the belly area. And of course, you got your ass as well. So Jonathan Glazer gave me a wedgie, and I think it changed my life. I think it damaged me.
I don't. I think that sent you careening into the career.
Yes, right. The wedgie sent me wedgifyingly into the film industry.
Exactly. And you've never looked back.
No. So anyway, Jonathan, you know him. Your family knows him, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. Sometimes you hide these
No,
little connections.
no. I mean, look. I mean, yeah, I was a child basically, but his parents, my parents, my aunt and uncle. Every Christmas, we would do the eggnog thing, and they would invite various families from Hadley Wood because, of course, Guy and Celia went to school with John. They're all around the same age group.
Yeah.
It was just very interesting that Jonathan gave me my first break. He was making his show reel.
Oh,
film.
really? So
Yeah.
this is before he did the Jamiroquai video. He did all that. This was like his start.
Yeah, and that Jamiroquai video, by the way, was fabulous. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Virtual Insanity. Fantastic video, very clever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
so
there you were
and
at
there
the
I
start
was.
of his career.
And I was working on my stuff with you and
Yeah.
Nick Jones and all those guys. And I think Simon Cohen said, hey, Jonathan's making a show reel. You want to help him out with it? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if he was out of film school. If we ever get you on the show, Jonathan, I'd love to ask you this. But
Yes.
we basically filmed at either his house or somebody else's house in Muswell Hill. And it was a Heineken commercial. And it was a take on how the title for E.T. came up.
Right.
And so you've got the script writer at the desk, he's typing all these different titles. And then in the end, he opens up a can of Heineken and he drinks it. And back then the campaign was Heineken refreshes the parts other beers cannot reach.
That's right. Heineken refreshes the parts other beers cannot reach.
Yeah. And he was saying, how are we going to make him dribble coming out with like tubes and stuff? And I said, my friend Nick used to do practical jokes. And he said, just below the lip line on the can, poke a hole. That way, when you pour it, it will dribble out.
Right.
And I remember very clearly, I said, let's poke a hole just under his lip line. And it dribbled out. And then, of course, we faked it hitting the keys of E.T. And therein lies the title. And that was Heineken Refresh the Parts Other Beers Can't Reach. From that, he brought me in on a B Sky B promo production, as well as the Buena Vista home video launch
Right.
back in 1986.
Right.
That was brilliant. I learned so much. And
So-
because I knew him, it was easy to talk to him about stuff.
And then, of course, he became famous and left you behind.
Not at all. I don't see it like that. But-
Yeah, that's what I do. Bitter, bitter. Bitter is the way. Bitter is the best way.
And now, of course, he's won
Right.
3 BAFTAs
Yeah.
for The Zone of Interest,
Yeah.
which were for Best Film Not in an English
Yeah.
Language, Outstanding British Film,
Yep.
and Sound Production.
Yeah.
And talking of the sound in that film,
Because
I
we
was-
saw it together, didn't
we
we?
did. We watched it here at home.
Yeah.
And I know you have problems hearing with your tinnitus and all
Eh?
that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. And I was a bit worried because I thought if I crank up the volume, there are going to be loud parts that are going to be like, oh, it's going to irritate you. And then I was thinking, oh yeah, so if someone is hard of hearing, because a good portion of the movie is you're not seeing anything with regards to the atrocities going on across the wall, but you're hearing it.
Yeah, I think he said, didn't he, that you got two films. You got the soundtrack film and you've got the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought about it, but it's like Big Brother, but with Nazis.
Right.
Because
delicately put.
No, but it's bizarre because all the cameras are locked off. There's very few tracking shots.
Yeah, there's just one when she crosses.
Yeah, or in the backyard. And it's literally fly on the wall filmmaking. I think they shot it with 10 cameras.
Yeah.
There's a scene where a young Polish girl plants apples.
Based on fact.
And what was interesting with that was it was shot with thermal cameras, which kind of makes you think, okay. And then it had this very dark, foreboding soundtrack, but she was the hope in the entire film. She was part of the resistance. But because it had this thermal camera and it kind of reminded me of the War of the Worlds when you first hear the tripods, and I was like, wow, for something that is supposed to convey hope, you've got this very foreboding soundtrack underlying it. But again, not exactly a feel-good movie. No one's redeemed.
Well, I mean,
and how could you?
It's not that type of film. And quite honestly, I have to say, I do wonder what is the point. Because the problem for me with the film, which I did enjoy, I was engrossed by it and I enjoyed, if that's the word, the performances. I thought the acting and performances which Jonathan captured, as you say, with his big brother camera rig was great. And not entertaining, but interesting.
Yeah.
The problem I came away with, and having discussed it with her indoors, the wife, was that what is the purpose? We're faced with this gentleman, Rudolf Hoss. I use the word gentleman as a joke. He's cold.
Right.
He's cold. There's an illusion, I felt, and I think each person that watches this film is going to come away with his or her feelings and emotions. The ending when he's in the empty hallway, which, as I said to you, I felt that was the corridors of his mind, as it were.
Yeah.
And then there's a feeling of him being sick, of halting, and then we flash to the museum.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to be honest with you, when I saw the museum and the shoes, that was it for me. That was the most powerful part, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And then we go back to him and there's a pause. He's looked into the future. This is as I saw it.
Yeah.
And all good films do that. Every person looks at a painting or a film with a different eye, right? Different experience.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I still came away with it thinking, yes, it's very bravado, it's very arty, very cool. The thermal imaging, the angel of light going through the darkness, or maybe the hopelessness of it, of her giving the apples, because if you notice in the soundtrack, the boys are arguing about the apple and the commandant says, drown him in the river.
Right.
So her very gift of giving these apples has basically, these boys have been put to death through it. So maybe that's why you had the ominous sound over it. I don't know. But for me, it was a film that we talked about.
Yeah.
We did talk about it. But the question of darkness, of man's inherent evil, I've always felt, and I've always said this to Sal, a Nazi officer or a Pol Pot regime, Cambodia, the killing fields, these people shoot the person, the child, the woman, the man in the head, and they go home and have dinner with their family.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not a mystery. It's humanity. It's the dreadful curse of our humanity, as we can do that within a flick and a click of a finger.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest with you, it's in competition with Society of Snow, which I felt, different subject in a way, but a much better movie.
Did you see that one?
I have, yes.
Okay.
And it is excellent.
Okay, I'll have to watch that.
Sorry, I'm running away here.
That's all right.
But the thing is, you know the Yellow Jackets?
I haven't watched it, but I know of it.
Oh, okay. It is set in the snow and there's a crash. That's about it. I say it's set in the snow. When they crash, it's not snowy, but it becomes snowy. But I loved it. I loved it. So me and Sal just binged it.
Right.
But you are aware that the snow is artificial. When you see this, you feel the cold.
Right.
These guys were in the Andes for, I think it's like 75 days.
Yeah.
And you feel it. The filming and the cinematography and the acting is superb.
I'll have to give that a look. Interesting side note, I don't know if you heard this. Steven Spielberg said about The Zone of Interest, the best Holocaust movie I've witnessed since my own.
That's the funny thing.
But that's high praise coming from Steven Spielberg.
It
It's
is,
fantastic.
but the interesting thing with Schindler's List is that it does show you the atrocity. And I always thought to myself, am I enjoying it? I question myself. Am I looking at those soldiers shooting the boy in the head when they run with him toward the officer with the gun? And he shoots him in the head in front of his mother. And I'm like, your brain is like, okay, I'm watching a movie. There's prosthetics and there's a sort of, you enjoy seeing action.
Right.
And I know I'm placing myself here in a weird space, but when I see this stuff and I'm like, there's a very fine line between, I think, some kind of pornography, if you will, of violentography. I don't know.
Gorno.
Huh?
Gorno.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And I'm like, hold on, this happened.
Yeah,
This-
I have to say, I don't think that Spielberg intended it to be
of course he didn't.
that.
I'm not saying he did.
No.
Of course, I'm not saying Spielberg wanted you to. Of course not.
No.
But I'm saying is where his film wins, in my opinion, over Jonathan's, is he showed it.
Right.
You have to see it. And it is shocking. And the way he did it wasn't, focusing on it, but it was there. And I always worry about that kind of fine line between showing, especially when you're dealing with a historical, event. So, but I think Schindler's List is a billion times greater movie. It's a different movie, of course. It's a different one. And Jonathan said that he didn't want to make Schindler's List, and according to his interview, and that's fine. But for me, as a viewer, and also the piano, by the way, and the piano does the same thing. It shows atrocities. And Sally said, with Jonathan's, okay, there's that shot of him with the smoke and you can hear everything.
Right.
But she goes, I still felt so separate from it. And I said, maybe he wants you to do that.
Right.
You're Hoss. You're separate. These are subhuman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought it was a very powerful movie, made me very uncomfortable. I think that's what it set out to be. And I think if it's bringing those atrocities back into the forefront and juxtaposing it against the crap that's going on today throughout the world, I think it's a very important film.
Well, we're not learning our lessons. We're not learning lessons. And of course, it's linked entirely to the situation in Gaza and Israel. And we are not learning our lessons. No. And there's a beautiful, horrible cartoon from the 1800s where you've got a banquet.
Right.
And one table is marked education.
Right.
Another table is marked science, health. And the table nearest the sort of camera is a guy sitting there with a piked helmet, and it's called war. And all the servers are bringing chickens and buffets. War is the machine that is fed out of all these things. Anyway.
Well, moving on to The Holdovers, talking about snow.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that movie. I don't know about you, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's 2 hours, 13 minutes long, directed by Alexander Payne, who did Sideways, among other things.
I recognise his name,
It was brilliant. Paul Giamatti, in my opinion, can not do anything wrong. I think he is superb. I thought the three main cast, Devine, Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa, if I said his name right, just a lovely film. He's so curmudgeonly, and he's being held back to look after these 5 or 6 kids that are also being held over because they've got nowhere to go at Christmas. I thought it was brilliant. And looking at some notes online, they were saying that they actually filmed it in March or April when it was still snowing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What do you think?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I think it was a very gentle film. I do wonder it being an Oscar film, quite frankly. It didn't really push the buttons for me, but I did enjoy it. Paul Giamatti, I enjoyed his performance. There was one particular shot that summed up his performance for me, which is where he's at the party and the lady who is holding the party, and you can see there's a fire between them, they're getting on, but it's that mistake that a lot of guys make is they're like, oh, hold on, I'm in here. Right. And then, of course, this lovely chap comes in and she goes over to him and the camera just pushes into his face. And his fucking look with the eye looking up there and the other eye looking down there and the fucking disappointment. Yeah. And that's the core of the film. I think you've got the clash of youth, of hopefulness, of the world's in front of you. We're going to go off skiing. Fuck you. You know, and then you got him with his cardigan on and he's bound by the old rules of being a gentleman. And it's just like, dude, just give the kid a fucking B and you'd be fine. But no. And it's interesting because, of course, that still goes on today. Many actors and actresses were caught with their trousers down when they're trying to pay money, getting their kids into the top schools. Naughty. So I did enjoy it. It's like a nice sweet, a nice dessert, you know, an eaten mess. Yeah. And I've got to be honest, at first I was like, oh, is this college? It's a bit Harry Pottery where they're all having dinner. And then Sarah was like, because I'm a bit dense, she was like, no, that's high school, basically. That's what
Yeah,
it was.
yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
a college.
It was a boarding school.
It was a boarding school,
Yeah.
but it went through all the ages because you
Yes.
had those young kids.
Yeah.
And I thought it was quite interesting. I thought one of the, and I don't know her name, the actress who played the cook,
Yeah, Davine Joy Randolph.
awesome. Her
Yeah.
looks, the way she was with that cigarette, the way she used that cigarette to just mark her acting, and
Yeah.
the way she was just placing herself in the scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed that, I have to say.
Okay. So what did you think of Oppenheimer?
I thought it was a bit of a Poopenheimer. I'm sorry to say. Chris Nolan, who I do love, me and my son, Lucas, Inch Higher Tech Guy, we just watched all 3 of Nolan's Batmans.
Yes.
And they are insanely good.
Yes.
And coming back to them, it's just, wow, Chris, awesome. And I remember once seeing Mr. Nolan at the Warner Brothers studios when I was working on a show, and it was like Brazil, because you saw Nolan in the middle, and he had all these little fops around him, and they were like,
Little entourage, yeah.
all kind of running after him, and you could see this blonde hair in the middle, and that was Chris Nolan. So he had that power. However, I think with this, he's missed it. I do. I have read the book. Let's put it this way. I've read 2/3 of it and I got a bit bored. But I did read the book. I do think Robert Downey was a surprise.
Yeah.
He's playing the dean of the Doodah and whatever his name was.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And they had a contention
Yes.
right from the start. In the book, he never liked Oppenheimer. And of course, Oppenheimer would do things like he brought his kids to a party where Oppenheimer was. And he just wanted the kids to say hello, and he completely dissed him.
Right.
It's just stuff like that. I thought that was interesting. I thought Robert Downey was refreshing and really good. I didn't even recognize him at first.
No.
But I think it was confusing. I think the open bit, we didn't know he was at his ranch in New Mexico.
Right.
It was like, what's going on? What's going on? I also found the whole sex scene just so bizarre. It's like, okay, was that what he was thinking about? He was thinking about this sort of passion when he's being grilled. It missed it for me. And also, by the way, the biggest letdown, the nuclear explosion.
Right.
It's practical. Oh. And it's, sorry. What do you think?
Well, not as elaborate as your explanation. I thought Cillian Murphy was excellent. Emily Blunt's good. Robert Downey Jr. steals the show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I found it really slow. You know, it's a
You would
3-hour
call
movie.
it a yawn fest, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't say it was a yawn fest, but it didn't hold my attention as I hoped it would. Yeah, it was engaging, but slow.
I got to say, I did have 2 twats next to me, both on their fucking phones throughout the
jeez.
whole film. Now, I would have said something, but they were both bigger than me, which is not hard.
So you said it in your head.
I went home and I gave them a fucking good telling off.
Excellent. On the way home,
As soon
or
as-
just
No, once I closed the door and I
gotcha,
locked
yeah.
inside. Yeah, so that was, Also, because of my hearing issues, I do love the subtitles.
Right.
So if I was at home and saw it,
Yes.
I would have had the subs on and might have got a lot more from
Right.
it. But having read the book, it did spoil it for me for a bit.
What do you think of Barbie?
Let's put it this way. I didn't see it
Oh,
because I was doing some stuff with Lucas, but Sal was watching it and she fell asleep. So moving on. What do you think?
I actually went in thinking I was going to freaking hate it. And I sat there for the first 35, 40 minutes with my arms crossed.
Yeah.
But then it kind of grew on me, and I figured what they were trying to. Don't ask me to tell you what they were trying to do, but
Oh, James.
I know it's terrible, but calm yourself.
Christ, mate, you're going to send me to my grave when you can't explain yourself.
That's the plan.
It's working.
So I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. There were some nice surprises in there with what's her name? Oh my god.
Barbie.
What I actually really enjoyed about it was there was a voiceover
Right.
by
Quickly, look it up.
Helen Mirren. There was a voiceover by Helen Mirren, and it was superb. And there was a fantastic line, which I won't be able to quote word for word, but they're talking about Barbie. She's having a moment of doubt about her looks, where she's going, oh, I'm just so ugly and I'm not pretty and this, that, and the other. And then Helen Mirren comes on and saying, note to the filmmakers, if you're going to make a point about looks not being everything, then Margot Robbie is not the person to cast as Barbie. And I thought that was genius.
Right.
And I think that got the biggest laugh in the whole theatre at that point. Again, I'm paraphrasing.
Well, you're talking about Helen Mirren just cutting in there.
Yeah.
Excalibur.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
Moving swiftly on.
So that was Barbie. I didn't hate it, put it that way.
Right. Past Lives, did you see that?
Did not see Past Lives.
Right.
Tell me about Past Lives.
Well, I saw it only because I was dragged along at rolling pin point by the wife. And now I love Korean movies.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I like the dark ones like Yellow River and I Saw the Devil.
Right.
But this was interesting. I think it was quite gentle. I think it was a little bit weak. The performances were good. I think for people who are not used to seeing American-Korean interaction and the culture, it would be quite an interesting experience. There was some moments, but I myself, I'm not doing a very good job of really describing it, but it was okay. But I'm surprised that it's here, to be honest.
Okay, you mean included in the Oscar-worthy Best Picture
I don't
list,
think it's Oscar-worthy by a long shot.
Interesting. So what do you think of Maestro?
And this says more about me than the film, unfortunately. But I started watching it, and the opening shot, I was like, oh, this is very Hitchcockian. It's very theatrical. So I enjoyed that, and I got into it a little. But then I found it, as to quote you, a bit of a snooze fest. And I turned it off and I streamed a Korean horror movie instead.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, the movie is 2 hours and 9 minutes long. It felt like a 3-hour movie to me. I get that Bradley Cooper wrote, directed, and obviously starred in it. I always liked Bradley Cooper. I did not like the character of Leonard Bernstein because he was an asshole to start with.
Now, is this in real life? I mean, this is meant to be him in real life, isn't it?
So not a nice person to start with. He was full of energy. He was a young man and he's going to be boisterous and loud and all that kind of stuff. And I get that. But at the end of the movie, he's still an asshole. He didn't learn from anything.
So you wanted that traditional Hollywood character arc then, and you didn't get it?
No, and the thing is, I get that, but it's like, well, what was the point? The only person, in my opinion, that had a very interesting arc was Carey Mulligan's character. Now, she's brilliant. For anybody that knows her work, she started, well, as far as I'm concerned, you saw her in Doctor Who Blink episode, where there was very little David Tennant.
Right.
And it was all basically her.
Right.
Fantastic. I mean, you could see her from that point going to today. Astounding actress. And I'm going to quote, not my lines, but a dear friend, James Bates. They could have made a movie about Leonard Bernstein from her point of view. She was brilliant in this role. But again, as far as Leonard Bernstein, yes, fantastic, prolific composer, conductor, but not a nice character.
It's interesting you say that, because I know we're talking about the Oscars, and of course, I know this is a bit of a weird offshoot. Bernstein is very successful, very creative, genius, bit of a... And I was looking at James Corden, who his show, and he's an Englishman.
Hang on.
I know, diversion, because I was thinking, compares and stuff, and he would be quite good for the Oscars maybe. But I've heard behind the scenes he's a bit of a wanker. And now he's crying that he's back in England. Oh, mate, I'm so sorry. Anyway, but the thing is it does seem that these people who have this genius, with the exception of your brother, are utter cunts. There's something of the personality that there's a meanness there. Now, I'm wondering, did they study that in the film? Because as you know, I didn't watch it all. But what makes a person of Bernstein's genius, there's a personality trait. Did they just say, oh, look, he's a bastard, but not really look into it? Because I would have found that interesting. Can I just quickly say, a similar film, although it wasn't based on a real character, was Tar, which I loved.
Still haven't seen it.
Oh, God. And that was nominated for 6 last year. Now, that's a fictional character.
Yeah.
And talking of character arc, you see this composer at the top of a tree.
Yeah.
And throughout the film, she just changes and collapses and changes. And I love that because it goes into it. It goes into that personality and what makes them as they are.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen Tar, and I think that would have been a great point of reference had I seen that to compare the type of character arcs. But yeah, again, felt like a long movie. Maestro was a long movie. It felt longer than it was. And I didn't feel that any of the characters, except for maybe Carey Mulligan's character, had any redeeming qualities about it. I did not like.
So that's a for Maestro.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes.
Oh, go on.
You go first.
Okay, well, it's interesting because I love Scorsese, of course. Do I think this is his masterpiece? No. Because Scorsese's had his masterpieces. Actually, I would dare suggest that Mean Streets Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Certainly was amongst two of his masterpieces and my favourite films he's done. I think Killers of the Flower Moon, although it looked beautiful,
Right.
the sequences didn't feel like, oh, look, I'm watching a period movie.
Right.
You felt like you were there. I think the main actress was superb. What's her name?
Lily Gladstone.
Lily Gladstone. Is she actually of
Yes.
the culture?
I believe she is.
I would hope so. So she was good. And also I found the geezer, what's his name?
Leo DiCaprio?
Yeah, him. He had some sort of, I'm not sure if he had
Yeah,
a,
I think
what
he
did
had
he
a- I
have? Did
think
he
he
have
had
a tooth?
I think he had a mouth
He had
prosthetic.
a plum to
Yeah.
pull down his,
Yeah.
which Dick Smith, the master of makeup effects, American in New York, passed away now, but he did Linda Blair the Exorcist,
Yeah.
and he also did the plum dental for The Godfather.
Right.
So I was reminded of that. But that aside, I felt like that Robert De Niro, bless him, was doing Robert De Niro.
Sure, but he's played that character so many
It's
times.
the same character.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, maybe we're just looking at Robert De Niro through the ages. Every
Well-
film. He was in the 60s in the casino. Now we're in the 1800s, and the same character has been reincarnated again.
Yeah,
But
I
I,
get that.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As I do Robert De Niro's performances. And he is a star, and that's it. But the thing is, I saw this film with my mum at the Barnet Everyman.
Really?
And it did not feel like what you said about the Leonard Bernstein film, Maestro. It didn't feel like its length.
Right.
It actually felt short and concise.
Exactly. It was a 3 hour and 36-minute movie, and it did not feel
No,
like
it
one.
didn't. Then my only real grumble about it is the device to finish off the storytelling with that bloody puppet show. I hated it.
But that was Martin Scorsese's cameo.
It may well have been, and I can't stand directors that do
It wasn't-
Quentin Tarantino.
It wasn't a puppet show, though. It was a radio show.
Okay, oh, yes, you're correct. It was a radio show. And that's funny because I saw it as a puppet show in my head. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Yeah,
That is very weird. Yeah,
but
that was a radio
it was a
show.
device because they were like, oh, fuck, we're at 3.5 hours already, Marty. Marty, we're at 3.5 hours here. It's a radio show, dude.
Yeah, I have to say, I enjoyed it. After seeing Maestro, I knew it was a long movie. I knew it wasn't going to be a happy movie. But I was like, wow, this is actually really good. Is it my favorite for the Oscars? No. I don't know what is.
Can I just say, just to finish off about Killers of the Flower Moon, there was a great sadness there
Yeah.
because at the once you had cultures mixing.
Right.
You had the white guy, the American natives, they were getting together. There was a sharing
Yes,
of culture.
but-
You saw the parties, but I know the reason.
Right.
That's the sad, cynical fucking reason
right,
behind it.
right.
But on the surface, you're like, oh, that could have been beautiful.
Yeah.
It could have been amazing. But no, they wanted their fucking money and their fucking oil.
Yeah.
So I found it a very sad film.
Yes,
in a-
but it's based on a true story.
Oh, hello. Come, not that fucking thick.
No.
Anyway,
It's difficult to tell these days because I know I am.
animated films, James.
Animated films. I have not seen any of the contenders except for Spider-Man Across the Universe.
And?
I freaking loved it. It was a good story. I loved they literally went through all the different animated styles and brought them all together
Right.
in this thing. I know they did that in the first one too, but this was just so beautifully done. I know it's not going to win because it's Marvel, but I really enjoyed it.
I saw that with my son, and we saw the first one, which we loved. This one I felt was a repeat, but I thought the art side of it outstanding. Now I've never taken drugs, even though it's hard to believe.
Wait a
certainly not-
moment.
Yeah, so no, I did take. What was it? Clive Barker gave me. What was it? What was it? Not speed.
Coke?
No, and that was
Crack.
no, fuck off. No, what's the stuff? Not acid. Oh shit! What is it? You take it when it raves. Do 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 do.
The blue pill.
The fuck. Anyway, he gave me some of that stuff. All legitimate, of course, above board. But anyway, I felt I was on an LSD trip. And I just sat back
Yeah.
and just let this film fucking wash over me like a technicolor tidal wave of madness.
Ooh, like
and I loved when we went into the Indian part of it and you had the whole Indian design and all the gods and
Yeah.
all that. Absolutely fucking fabulous. So from that point of view, I really enjoyed it. Would I buy the DVD? I'm sorry, but I would not. But I did enjoy it.
I liked it because it was very reminiscent of a very long music video because of the styles.
Yeah,
that they,
yeah.
it was-
No, it hit. It's like.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Lucas, bless him, Inch High Tech guy, He was okay with it. He enjoyed it. He loved the first one much better.
Right.
Anyway, it was very clever, and certainly to all the guys behind it. Peter Ramsey, the director, who was a storyboard artist.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, I would support it just for the fact that he was involved anyway.
Did you see any of the others?
I saw The Boy and the Heron
What was...
by the director Hirasha.
Yeah.
Hira, what's his name? Quickly. Hiroko.
Oh, hold on. No. Wait, no. Moving on. But yes, you saw The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah, I saw Boy and the Heron, extremely disappointed.
Really?
Now, I loved My Neighbor Totoro,
Yeah.
and Spirited Away is my favorite Hirosaki movie.
Okay.
It's wonderful. It's a have you ever seen it?
No.
Oh my
No, I have seen Spirited Away. Yes. Yes, of course. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So that is the acme of his career, in my humble opinion.
Right.
Now, this felt like it was at the end of his career. It felt depressing, sad. I found it boring, tiresome. I just fell asleep in the cinema watching it, I'm afraid. And I feel it's a huge disappointment. And I hate to say that because I really admire that man. He's amazing. And his studio, which I've forgotten now.
Studio Ghibli, is it?
That's it, Studio Ghibli. Well done, mate. You're learning a lot under my guidance. Anyway, so I was disappointed. Shame you haven't seen it. I'd be interested to see what you think. But yeah, I was not too good.
I have
with
to say, it doesn't really appeal to me, but maybe
Right.
I'll see it when it comes on the box.
You won't. Anyway, moving on.
So what else is
Visual
there?
effects.
Visual effects.
Very important.
Yes.
When I was sat back in the UK and I was watching the Oscars as a young boy, full of Hollywood dreams.
All we will stay up for was the visual
Yeah.
effects, yeah.
Yeah, visual effects and including mechanical effects. And a couple of the movies which I saw, The Creator, I saw
Yes.
Godzilla -1, and I saw Napoleon. I didn't see the Marvel one. And now you've seen The Creator, right?
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I loved The Creator.
Yeah.
I absolutely friggin' loved it. And when I saw the behind the scenes on it, which actually felt like back in the 2000s when you would buy DVDs and you would have these really in-depth behind the scenes as opposed to what you get these days, which is basically like, this is what happened, and it's over before you get a chance to really get into the meat and bones.
Yeah.
The behind the scenes on The Creator was literally a masterclass in filmmaking, changing people into robots. And they just made it seamless without shooting green screen. I'm sure they did a lot of green screen too, but I was just blown away because they changed the way films are made. Even the prosumers cameras that they shot them on. Just amazing stuff. The director,
Gareth Edwards.
shot the film, did a lot of the shooting himself. He had a DP clearly. They modified rigs so that it was basically a Ronin on a shoulder rig.
Yeah.
So he could get all the smooth shots. Just brilliant guerrilla style filmmaking. And I thought the film had its problems, but it was good. Visual effects I thought were superb.
Yeah, I agree with you there. First of all, Gareth Edwards, a visual effects guy, British. He did the film Monsters, I think it was. That was his first film, and he used that style and he used that approach, and he did his own visual effects. And he used that approach in Robert Rodriguez guerrilla style, but with visual effects.
Right.
And now, of course, he had the mate of ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, which has been around since 1975, Star Wars. And like you, I thought the humanoid robotic android characters were 100% convincing.
Yeah.
I thought they were, you could not tell.
No.
I loved the design. The design was very Sid Mead.
Yeah.
In fact, when I saw the commercial, I was like, fucking, this is great. This is Sid Mead like flesh. It's right there. And I loved it. And I thought, yeah, there were some plot inconsistencies and a few things, but it didn't matter. I was in this world. I loved the idea that AI had gone to Asia and that whole kind of Vietnam kind of similarity, which he admits to.
Yeah.
Because the genesis for the film was he was driving along and he saw a cornfield, and in the middle of the cornfield was this bit of machinery, and it reminded him of a Vietnam cornfield and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So yeah, loved it. You know, the thing is, I'm kind of at a crossroads there because I loved Godzilla -1.
Right,
And I hope they win.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they will. I say that. I have no idea. I did see The Creator, did see Godzilla -1, saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and I saw Mission Impossible.
Oh,
Dead
right. I
Reckoning.
didn't see those Guardians on Mission. How were they?
As far as Guardians go, God, now I'm going to sound like Barry Norman from back in the 80s.
You'll like it. Not a lot.
Yeah. So the thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, I love all of those films, but the effects are so astounding. And to quote Barry Norman, and I hate myself saying this, They are what we've come to expect from the motion picture industry because they all start looking the same. Back when we were kids, you'd see a fantastical scene and be like, wow, how they do that. Now we know it's all computers.
Yeah.
So there's no suspension of disbelief with anything anymore.
Well, Godzilla, I suspended my disbelief.
Yes.
I believed in that fucking monster.
Yes.
I did. Because the difference between Godzilla and okay, I haven't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy. I saw the first one, which I actually loved, and number 2. I loved them. I thought they were great. And it's a very different world.
Yes.
But the Godzilla world, when they put his foot down and the whole fucking pavement lifted up, you've not seen that before.
No.
So it was the ideas behind it.
Yeah. No, and I agree. I think that's good. I think Mission Impossible, look, they actually drove a locomotive into a quarry.
Yeah, but then they CG it.
Yeah, and but the thing is, that's what blows my mind. It's like they CG the background to make it look like
and
a valley.
It looks fake. Sorry, it looks fake. You've got all these Chris Corbold special effects rigs.
Yeah.
And the fucking thing looks fake.
I know. And it blows my mind because why would you go to all that expense and then just CG the background? I get the technicality of it, but it's like, why go to the expense of building a fucking train?
And of course, they'll say, we built the train, we built the bridge, and now we have to put the bricks on it. If we got the art department to do the facade, it would cost X amount of, and then we can just slap it on in this virtual world.
I get that, but okay, that again, I thought it was excellent, but nothing new.
Let's make some predictions. We're wrapping up now. Do you want to go first? Best Picture.
I would probably say what I would like to win for Best Picture would probably be Killers of the Flower Moon, but I think it's going to go to Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I'd rather Killers. But I think that it's going to go Nuclear. What about foreign movie? Now, I would love to see Society of the Snow, but I know it's probably going to go to Jonathan Melvin Glazer.
I would like it to go to Jonathan just because he's a friend.
Absolutely, James. I'm 100% behind you there.
Yeah, with your Melvin. But I have no idea because I haven't seen any others.
Right.
So, no comment.
All right, and visual effects, we'll just cut to the chase. Oh, I forgot to mention makeup effects.
Oh, yes.
No, I haven't seen this film. I've tried to see it, but the code on my screen just won't work.
Really?
However, it's called Poor Things, and a gentleman who I used to work with many years ago, incredibly talented makeup effects artist, Mr. Mark Coulier, and his team did the makeups for it. Now, if you've seen the photo of Willem Dafoe in this incredible makeup, which is like a very Cubist style look to it, and it's very bold and very brave to do, and it's beautiful. And actually, one of my other friends who still talks to me, Paul Jones, he's a makeup effects guy, and he was with Mark on set doing all the stuff. They didn't sculpt or apply it. Paul Jones was on it as well, and they did the practical stuff. And I really hope Mark wins. He won for the Iron Maiden.
Right.
Margaret Thatcher makeup, which was beautiful.
But that was the Iron Lady, wasn't it?
And that, yes.
Iron Maiden.
But I'll be cheering him on. It's always good to see somebody who's very talented, who's worked very hard, up for a nomination. So that'd be wonderful. And the other makeup effects I've not seen, I don't think.
Well, Maestro was one. It's not makeup effects, it's makeup and hairstyling.
Yeah.
So you've got Golda, which I haven't seen.
No, not seen that. Golda Meir, the Israeli Prime Minister, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Also. Maestro,
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow.
Now, that's interesting you say that because Society of Snow, the frozen makeups by DDT, a Spanish company, was amazing.
All right.
But I'm tilting towards Poor Things because of my old friends.
Right.
But the Society of Snow makeup was excellent.
Yeah.
So,
I want to see Poor Things.
yeah, so do I. I hope that bloody code works. I don't want to pay for it. No, it's a bit tight these days. And actually, just to wrap up, I have to say the state of the film business now in the UK and here, people haven't worked. I've got friends who do concept art. They've not worked for 9 to 10 months.
Yeah, it's a bit tight.
And so I just want to say, send a wish and a prayer to everybody who's in that situation. And the work has gone. I'm not working now. You know, it's going to be interesting seeing this ceremony with the fact that you've got the film industry on this precipice. You've got downsizing, contraction, as they call it. Yeah. You've got the streaming model doesn't seem to be working. You've got Apple and Amazon, but these guys, they don't need it anyway. They're their own powerhouse. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy a lot of their shows. They're incredible. Apple does some great stuff, Amazon and all these guys. But the problem is their contraction. We live in a profit-based society. Yeah. And mentioning that, sorry, I'm on a bit of a roll, we go to AI and the fact that AI, if you saw I think it's Sonara, the 1 minute video, OpenAI, where they did actually,
yeah,
right?
No, I haven't seen
You had the woman walking in Japan, you had the truck driving, and it's from a year ago, it's shockingly good and powerful. Yes, you can look at it and go, oh, but but the reality is, guys and gals, is it's fucking here. And it's not just us artists who are going to be slaughtered, not to be too grim about it, but you're going to have doctors or people who have to give any sort of information when they meet you. That information can be done from open AI now, or will be done so. Accountancy, even producing, all these kind of things that rely on factual information, as well as artistic information and practical stuff, are really up for it now. And I think it is scary, it is worrying. And yes, I am fearful of it. There is an excitement to it. When I saw the video, I was like, wow, you can do all this stuff. So I'm very mixed about it. YouTube is the #1 streaming now. We're in that society. Exactly. So I think looking at the Oscars, you're looking at this old ceremony, basically, and it's clashing.
Yeah. Just to end on something else too, I watched the SAG Awards that were being streamed live on Netflix for the first time.
Yes.
I had problems.
Right. We know that, dear.
No, but it was just bizarre because whoever was doing the sound mix on that thing never boosted anybody's microphone. So they were talking back here on the mic. They were very quiet. It was like, what the heck? And then what I found surprising, you've got all these actors, and when they go up and they do their intros for best film, nobody knew their lines. They're reading off an auto cue. They couldn't freaking read it straight. I mean, you're all actors. You're highly paid A-list actors, and you can't read a fucking auto cue.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell's going on? Anyway, I understand it's live television, and most of these actors don't do stage.
Oh, no. That's the interesting thing, isn't it? The delineation. No,
delineation.
Delineation. Thank you, pedant alert. Oh, I've been pedanted. But the delineation between a British and American actors is within the stage.
Yeah.
I'm not slagging off American actors, some of my biggest stars and my favourites, but there is that line between performing on the stage and what that does for you, and enables you to enunciate, to read, to be active in the moment.
Do you mean enunciate?
Silence.
I shall now say goodbye in my AI voice. Thank you very much, James. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Martin. I'll see you for the fact check.
Yes, and also, by the way, we will be having an interview with a mate of mine who was a visual effect.
Wait, you've got mates?
Yeah, in a little box under the cupboard. And we'll be interviewing him from afar, but he's a visual effects supervisor and a storyboard artist.
Nice.
Yeah, very interesting stories he's got.
Coming up.
Cheers.
On the next podcast.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
Before we go, we bring you our
Fact check! Fact check! Fact check! Killian, I love you! Good luck, best wishes for the best actor in Oppenheimer! Woo!
Fact check segment.
Here with the benefit of hindsight
And editing.
we can own up to our mistakes.
Fact check.
Yes.
I have to correct you. It wasn't really a correction. You just forgot his name. Hayao.
Oh, God. For anybody of sensitive disposition,
We'll call him Mr. Miyazaki.
Heiko
It's not Heiko.
Miyazaki.
It's Hayao.
Hayao Miyazaki.
No, not Hayao Miyazaki. It's Hayao Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, Hayao Miyazaki and Toshio Suzuki
Right.
were the people responsible for The Boy and the Heron, which you hated.
Yes. Sorry about that.
That's right.
A little tickle for you.
Yes.
Well, actually for both of us, because I mentioned Gareth Edwards, the British visual effects turned director.
Yes.
And he directed Monsters, as I was correct in saying.
Yes.
He also directed Godzilla.
The 2014 one, right?
Yeah, 2014. And Rogue One.
Yes.
Yeah.
And The Creator, which we
Yes.
loved.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
All right. Well, that seems to be about it.
Right then.
All right. I'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Cheers.